Povey from Tara.com. I was born in New Zealand, but I was raised in Ireland. So when I was 2, we did like my first really big trip from New Zealand all the way to Ireland, which is one of the biggest flights that you can do. So I think I always kind of had traveling in my blood. My mother is kind of a bit of a traveler as well. She's always brought us from, on last minute trips to like Paris, or she's just always traveled with us, even though she's a single mother, but she always just brought us everywhere with her. So I think I just had it in my blood ever since I've been a child. My last big trip was to Israel. It's a part of the world that I've never been to at all, never been to a country like it before. My favorite things that I did there, in Jerusalem, I loved Ein Karim, which is just a really pretty neighborhood. It's got all these beautiful doors. I'm kind of obsessed with colorful doors. And I also did like a digital scavenger hunt, which was really cool because I didn't know the city at all, but going from place to place and finding out about it and getting clues and having to do funny challenges was pretty fun. I had to do a rap in the middle of the city, so that was, a highlight. They also have this market during the day called a shuk, which is full of fresh produce, and then at night time they pull down the shutters and it's just like a party. They get out chairs and tables and everybody has drinks, so that was really like good to see a different side of Jerusalem, not just like the religion, kind of the young people just being like everybody else. The other thing obviously was the Dead Sea. You can visit it from the Jordan side, but obviously I went from the Israel side, and it's just like floating in one of those 90s bubble chairs. But one tip would be not to shave before you go in there. One thing that people ask me about a lot in Israel was, is it safe? Did you feel safe there? Is it okay to visit? And I can honestly say that in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, I actually felt perfectly safe. Tel Aviv is a really young city. It just feels like you're in Europe. And Jerusalem, there was no problem at all. I walked around the streets at night. I didn't have any issue. Obviously, like every city, you would take precautions not to just be throwing around your valuables. But otherwise, I think it's just like Europe. My next big trip is to Finland. I got that trip basically, there's a thing called the Nordic Bloggers Experience every year. And last year I applied for it and I got rejected. So this year I applied again because I thought, well, I've done a lot more with my blog and I really want to get it this time. So I applied, and out of 650 bloggers from around the world, I got chosen basically to be a hosted blogger. So they bring me over and they host me for a week there. And the first 4 days is a pre-trip tailored to my blog, where I go and do activities around Finland and see some of the sites. So for me, it's going to be an adventure trip. So I'm going to be ice climbing, husky sledding, which is something that I wanted to do forever. Swimming in ice rivers and all sorts of crazy things like that. And then the last 3 days will be like a travel bloggers conference, but focused specifically on like the Nordic region. So it should be really interesting for me. I'm most looking forward to husky sledding and possibly seeing the Northern Lights, because it's been on my bucket list forever. And I've just never really done a proper winter holiday. So it will be something totally different for me, and I'll be so excited to take it off my bucket list. The only fear that I have from the trip is we will be going into a lot of saunas, and I know that I've read that in Finland they like to go into the saunas naked. I don't know how comfortable I'm going to be doing that with a bunch of bloggers that I've never met before, like, hello, I'm Tara, here's everything, like, please visit my website, but actually that might work. 2 pieces of advice for traveling. The first thing I would say is to pack light. I know it seems obvious, but you just don't need half of the stuff that people put in their suitcase. All you really need is your passport, your money, and your gadgets, and everything else you can buy while you're over there. And you want to leave room for buying souvenirs or anything like that. So yeah, you just pack light. You don't need that much. And the tip number 2 would be To travel slow, I always find anyway that I get burnt out if I try to hop from place to place or try to see too much within a short period of time. Like, I prefer now, I think I've learned to just spend maybe 3 weeks or a month somewhere and really feel what it is to live in that place, rather than just like, you know, get a night bus here and then spend 2 nights and then get a boat over there and then spend 1 night, and then you're absolutely exhausted, you don't have any time to see anything, and you just don't enjoy it as much, and your mood goes right down. So I think traveling slow and taking care of yourself is probably the best tip that I can say. I always use travel insurance. Luckily, I've never had to claim, touch wood, but I know friends who have. One of my friends was in Australia. He's a total water baby, and he was doing a bit of surfing. I don't know exactly what happened. I think he went under and the board smacked him in the face or something like that. Anyway, he ended up with like a black eye and a broken bone in his cheek. I don't think he broke his nose. Anyway, because it was Australia, it would have been really expensive if he didn't have travel insurance, but luckily he did, so he was able to claim that. So I think that's always kind of reinforced for me that I need to be careful and have travel insurance. When I get travel insurance for myself, I always have to make sure that I get the higher cover, because I do a lot of adventure stuff for my blog, so I'm at a much higher risk, so I just need to make sure basically that I'm covered for that. With horse riding, it's always on the highest list of danger. Same with scuba diving as well, quadding, abseiling, all of that stuff. Like recently I was in Sri Lanka abseiling down a waterfall backwards. You know, if anything had happened to me then, I'd be well bad at my travel insurance, so I'm covered all the time. I started my website in 2014 mainly just as like a sort of dear diary, so that my family and friends knew what I was up to while I was traveling. And I didn't really think of it as a business or really know anything about travel blogging as a profession. And when I look back at some of the posts, I just cringe a little bit, so don't go back through my archives. But in the past year, it's just gone crazy. I mean, I've had articles in the Irish Times, Irish Sun, in You Magazine, Stellar. It's just been really good. I've worked with companies like Sony Pictures to promote their adventure movies. I've done all sorts of stuff. Every month for the past 8 months, I've been going on, you know, press trips, getting invited places. So it's just opened a whole lot of doors for me to things that I would have never been able to do before, because since I've started taking it seriously as a business. My 3 favourite places are Sri Lanka, mainly because of the food. It's amazing for vegetarians, and the people are so friendly as well. I love the Philippines just because it's made up of over 7,000 islands, so how could you not find something that you love there? And then my last one, surprisingly, is Northern Ireland. I found that I get a lot of good feedback from the people up there, and it's such a beautiful country, and I think people forget about what's on your own doorstep. You know, it's only just over maybe 2 hours drive from where I live, but I'd never really explored it properly until this year, and I was really pleasantly surprised. My least favourite place so far, surprisingly, has been Queenstown in New Zealand. I know I shouldn't say that because I'm from New Zealand, but Queenstown is just one of those places that it is very pretty, but it's just become like a town made for tourists. So it's packed all of the time, and all of the shops, not all of them, the majority of the shops are just tourism agencies, travel agencies selling things, you know, tickets to some adventure activity that's not really natural with the area. It's just full of backpackers really, and I found it not very genuine or in keeping with the rest of New Zealand. There's a smaller town, Wanaka, just 40 minutes up the road, which is much nicer. So yeah, I would recommend staying there if you're in the area. My bucket list is kind of never ending. I find that the more places I go to, the more things I add to it, and I never seem to make it any shorter. But what I really want to tick off as kind of a life goal is going to the Galapagos. I was in South America before, but I just didn't have the money. It's such an expensive destination. And the other thing is Africa. I've never been to Africa, so I really want to see Rwanda and Tanzania for just a completely different landscape, just a whole different culture that I'm not used to, and the wildlife would be amazing. I mean, I love horse riding, so I think it'd be great to do like a horseback safari there. Vlogging has surprisingly a lot of challenges. I know it looks like I just go travel around the world and take pretty pictures, but actually I'm basically constantly on my phone or my laptop. My boyfriend hates it. I'm always tired from flights and layovers and that kind of thing, and I miss out on a lot of life events, you know, that my friends have. Like my friend had a baby in February. I only saw the baby for the first time a couple of months ago, so the baby was 9 months by the time I first saw him, so you kind of miss out, and you've got to just get over that, really. But there's loads of rewards as well, and obviously I love all the people that read my blog. I get lots of really nice messages from them saying that they've gone somewhere because of what I recommended, or that I inspired them to go somewhere. So that kind of feedback just makes you feel like you're doing something worthwhile. And I also love meeting so many new people that I would have never had the chance to meet before on trips. I meet other bloggers, people in the industry, just people that do so many interesting things that I might never have crossed paths with before. So that's a really great reward. I'm Tara from Multitrippers.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, and see all of my crazy travel adventures, well, that would be wonderful. And if not, goodbye. Thank you so much for watching.